Welcome, everyone. I am John Ryan for Gambling.com and the Predictive Playbook sports betting channel on YouTube. And I'm joined today by my good friend and pal, Chris Wassel. But I'm afraid that he's probably not going to end up being my friend by the end of the show, Jordan, because I don't have too many good things to say about that one baseball team that's in, where are they again? Queens? I think Queens is where they're at. It's really hard to say because, even the United Airlines announced today that they're not going to fly anymore out of Queens.
I wouldn't.
Yeah. And Jordan Capozzi, he is the executive producer of ESPN Radio Syracuse. And I'm privileged and honored to be on that show every Friday, usually at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you haven't seen that's a lot of fun. And it is rip-roaring fast, I would say.
We talked a little bit about those Mets last night, John. You were right on that one too. I'm sorry, Chris, but we're covering everything. We're not done with football yet. Done with any sports. Still on baseball a little bit too.
Yeah, it looks like you're having with the bright light in the background, Chris. I mean, are you doing extra prayers for the Mets now that we're down to the wire? And
no, see, I've had my sunglasses on since about July. Again, I've said this for people that in the know, not in the know. This was always coming down to 100 wins, no matter what. Now, by the way, for the fun in this, or the background, and we always get into this. The Mets, when DeGrom and Scherzer were announced out about maybe 3 weeks before the start of the season, FanDuel and a couple of those other nice, wonderful places plunked the Mets down win total down to about 90.5. We hammered that nicely. So already we got the green. This is just for a bonus and for fun, and to prove to some of our gambling.com listeners and that we can have fun with this and enjoy a good banter, which, by the way, still should be recording those meetings because there's always a lot of fireworks in there. But the 100 wins just came from the fact that I'm just going to stick my neck out and say, hey, why not? Little did I know that the Mets were going to teeter-totter on this 100 win pace, throughout. Maybe I did. It's just the Mets. There is no way around this. And for people, it doesn't matter if they were up by 10 games, down, but it was always going to be at this number. So it was kind of easy, to be honest. I know people go, well, are you going to worry about this? No. It's like me knowing that Notre Dame is going to start out the season the way they did. Yeah, they're still bad. It's kind of like watching UCLA last night, which, by the way, if you did not watch the Lamar Jackson scramble, I recommend watching UCLA's quarterback do on one side of your screen and watch the Lamar Jackson. It's pretty funny. I gotta admit that, and it's also, to be honest, quite impressive to watch the scrambling ability. And yeah, Washington's bad. We can mutually say that as well. So, again, a lot of things going on. I mean, shoot, I even managed to watch the following things this morning. Watch the Tour of Croatia, or now known as the Crow Race. It's something to get. I know it's not the Eat Crow Race, but it's close enough. F1 qualifying, where Max Verstappen, even though he's about to clinch his second straight world title, launched into a profanity-laced tirade that would make any coach blush, just because his qualifying session did not go the way he expected. Man is fiery, I will say that. And then, of course, finally, I get to come on here and just get absolutely berated for the Mets, which I don't mind at all. Because, look, let's be honest. We get to talk about it. Hey, those are athletes. They're the ones that actually have to play. That's their problem.
I'm a Red Sox guy, Chris. So I'm a Red Sox guy in Syracuse, New York. So at least you're not me.
Could be worse.
Could be worse.
Welcome, Chad.
Greetings. Good morning.
I believe you know Jordan from previous show. You might not know Chris. Chris is he was a beat writer, the beat writer for the New Jersey Devils a few years back.
Oh, okay.
And he's as knowledgeable about the Mets as you are about the LSU Tigers.
All right.
And perhaps
sounds good.
As knowledgeable as I am about this team.
There you go. Well, so did he tail you on this bet that you made yesterday with the Braves taking it down and getting game 1 in that series?
Yeah, I did. Even though I'm a Mets fan. I look, Jacob deGrom is the drama queen, and we all know it. So I mean, it's just it's one of those unfortunate things where it's like, it's reality. But today's a different day. So.
You're a smart fan though, because I know Mets fans, Bills fans around here who they'll have the best prop bets for every game. They'll know when they're going to lose a game that they're heavily favored, and they won't bet on it because like, I can't bet on or against my team. It's like, no, I bet where the money is. So I'm glad you understand, Chris.
Rule 1: bet against team when it's profitable. Rule 2: repeat step 1.
That's brilliant.
Can't go wrong with that.
I don't think I've ever heard anything that brilliant in all my life. I mean, that's really outstanding stuff. Why don't we talk about Syracuse first and foremost here with Jordan here on the show? Syracuse is about a 500-point favorite, I believe, against Wagner. And I was surprised. I didn't think this game was actually going to be lined. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't think it was going to be lined. I don't know if there is a total, but Syracuse is, I think, 50.5 points.
Started at 55 too. So apparently, I mean, nobody's going to expect Wagner to come in and win. They haven't won a game under their current head coach, but I guess people think they're going to cover 55. My first thing with this game, if you look at the Syracuse schedule, it was built very strategically. They've had these 4 pretty winnable games, albeit like big name teams comparatively. You know, Purdue, Alabama wouldn't care if they beat them. For Syracuse, that's a big deal. They've got Wagner, they've got a bye, and then they've got the toughest stretch, I might say, on like any schedule in college football this season. NC State, Clemson, Notre Dame, Pitt, FSU, they're all just coming. So it's whether or not you think the backups are going to be motivated enough to cover, because this is a big rest game, I promise you. And the Wagner coach, Tom Masella, he said at his coaches show this week, we're just going to try to keep it competitive up until the second quarter and see where we go from there. So Wagner's not expecting to cover. Cuse is expecting a big win. It's kind of just, will the starters be in long enough, or will the backups care enough to just run the score up?
Yeah, what kind of coach is he? Is he, like, by comparison, Chad's favorite coach, Brian Kelly, who is already not making friends with his players, would run up the score on his son's in-house team. In other words, if it was a baseball game, he would throw out his own kid. But
look, man,
can't crowd the plate. Come on.
I was about to say, if he's crowding the plate, or if he's doing a bat flip or something like that after a home run, I'm coming after his dome. I don't care whose kid he is.
Yeah,
and likewise, if I'm trying to reach the heights of the ACC crown or anything close to it, I'm going heavy at Wagner.
Okay.
No matter who's coaching.
I'm seeing 59.5 right now as the total. So
I'm seeing no line. Like, I don't even. Oh, as the total. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
it looks like they turned the line off.
I've seen 55. Yeah. I've seen at DraftKings it's down to 52.5. It was at 50.5 yesterday at one point on one book. But I mean, you guys know how these FCS lines are. Just if you really care, you can grab it, but they're going to be all over the place and they might be hard to find. But yeah, I am curious what you guys think on stuff like that. Not even specifically Syracuse Wagner, but those FCS games, man. 55 is so much, and that's basically a coin flip as to whether or not it's a 56 or a 52-point win. Like, Do you guys stay away from those? Do you guys like trying to capitalize on those?
I don't like anything that's that high, just because of the simple fact that you could win 52-0 and not cover. Like, it's, you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
you could absolutely boat race a team and it doesn't even matter because the line is so high. Like, there was a game last year with Georgia. They were favored by like 45 or something like that. And I didn't take it. I didn't take the opposite side either, but I stayed away from it, even though I felt like they would blow it. And I think they won like 47-6 or something like that. And so it's like, you see, like, and it was a backdoor 6 too. You know, like it was one of these things where it's not worth it. It's not, the money's not good there. I prefer to take something where it's, you know, where it's something that is game specific, that, okay, this will matter. And I could see this team trying to add a touchdown late so that they can prevent the, you know, the onside kick and come back, you know, backdoor type sneak nonsense. I don't like something that's this big, because you have to score that many points, first of all. And it's not to say that Syracuse isn't capable of it, but it's just, man, stuff happens in a game. And that's a lot. You're talking about 7-8 touchdowns and maybe a couple of field goals in there. So it's a lot.
And they're going to be trying to get their run game tight too. That's the other thing. Sean Tucker this season was supposed to be in the Heisman race, and now he's nowhere near it. So it's not like they're worried about throwing the ball a ton. This is going to be a get-right game for the line and the running back. So
there you go.
If I had to say something, like, along with the fact that, so Rutgers beat Wagner by 59. Everyone's looking at Syracuse like they're undefeated. Like, they should clobber them too. I love Syracuse. They're not your typical 4-0 team. I'm super glad they got to 25 in the coaches poll, but there's a reason they're not in the AP top 25. If I had to say something, I'd probably go Wagner, but I agree, Chad. Like, I don't want my hands anywhere near a 55-point spread.
No.
I wonder if there's a team total for Wagner.
I mean, I'm seeing DraftKings has them 52.5 with a 59.5 total, so that would be about 6-7.
And it just swung again too. So
really,
yep.
That is
this is interesting. DK looks like they're gonna up this to 54. And wow, I mean, do they not realize the weather conditions on the East Coast?
They will be in the dome. Syracuse does have
true, but I mean, you know, it's like, you know, people have to get to the game.
Yeah, that's going to be another fun thing. Like, it is homecoming weekend in Syracuse, but they haven't been able to crack 40K this year. I mean, they had a Friday night game against Virginia, ACC opponent, the team that they took their whole offensive staff from, basically, and they only got like 36K there. I think it was like 38K for Purdue on a Saturday at noon. So this isn't going to be a game where in the fourth quarter you got a full house rooting the team on to score that last touchdown. They're going to be just ready to get out of there and rest up for NC State.
So before we move on, because I know we're probably close to doing that, to move it on to another game, I have to take issue, Jordan, with, you said that Syracuse had a schedule that rivals anyone else in the nation going forward.
That stretch after the bye week.
We are. You see the shirt. You see the shirt I'm wearing.
Oh yeah.
We're in SEC country down here. I'm going to read you off. I'm going to rattle you off LSU's schedule. So they're playing at Auburn today, and Auburn is like on their third backup quarterback or something like that. Their coach is about to get fired. So this one I'm not really looking at as a tough, but Jordan-Hare Stadium is a tough place to play, and that rivalry has just been crazy over the years. But here's the rest of the schedule: Tennessee, at Florida in the Swamp, Ole Miss, Alabama, at Arkansas, at Texas A&M.
That's relative, though. If LSU just played better and was better, they wouldn't have such a tough schedule.
Okay. Well, I guarantee you this.
Top 10 strength of schedule, though.
What's that?
It's still a top 10 strength of schedule by
Syracuse
far and away. Well, no. LSU's by far and away.
Oh yeah.
I think its SOS was like around 3. It's probably going to go up anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where
I don't have much sympathy when you're talking about Notre Dame and Pitt being on your schedule, and we're going through
those
gauntlet.
Those games looked a lot more intimidating early on, but still, man, I mean, the NC State Clemson back. We know we don't compare to the SEC, but we like to make our little fort up here in the Northeast and pretend we're one of the best in the country.
Look, I got to defend my turf. It's a territorial thing. That's right.
Well, we've mentioned NC State and Clemson quite a bit, and that's a big showdown today. And preseason NC State was the darling of just about anybody that had a podcast or media outlets. It didn't have to be in North Carolina; it could be the West Coast. And NC State was the team that was going to wreck Clemson's domination of the ACC. So they get their chance today. It's only 6.5 point spread, which is a head scratcher right there. Clemson seems to be a team that is living off of past seasons, and they're still being priced like Trevor Lawrence is still there. And granted, their quarterback has come a long way quickly from the debacle of last year. But what do you guys think of this game? And it is one of our contest picks, Chris, right over at gambling.com. We have a staff of writers, and we all put up our picks. And Chad, the betting gods hate me, but I'm 18-2 in the contest.
It's a John Ryan Invitational, basically.
Yeah, but I only have a 4-game lead.
Well, that's because Bryce has snuck up there and stayed kind of like, Kevin's coming up too, so some of us, we gamble a little bit more.
But you're pacing yourself. You're focused on the Mets, and then
I'm focused on Kansas. Keep hammering Kansas. I can't help it. It's just certain teams that you just gravitate to. But yeah, for this game, it's interesting. If you hit that 40.5 early in the week for the total, God bless you. You followed the models like we did, and realized that Ian was going to just give a little nudge to the right. You're pretty good to go today. I mean, actually, it's supposed to be not bad down there now tonight. A little humid, but I don't think anybody cares compared to what it was going to be. Mm-hmm. And that's great news for that. But that being said, this is going to be a complete utter head scratcher tonight from the beginning. I mean, there's no other way to slice this game. You're going to see lots of ebbs and flows. If Clemson plays this like they did against Wake Forest, just all bets are off. They really are. Now, if they come out and play like they did a few weeks ago, it's a different story. Clemson hammers NC State in the second half. So, for the old adage, your guess is as good as mine. In this case, it really is.
What do you think, Chad?
I like NC State and the 6.5. I'm looking back to like these last couple of years. NC State's actually given Clemson some really good games and actually knocked them off in that with the field goal. Was it last year or year before? It's I know we're not talking about the same players and everything, and it's a little different. And yeah, DJ has definitely stepped his game up. But I'm to Chris's point, I kind of looked at the way that Clemson finished that game last week. Like, I looked at that game, what was it, like 35-14 or something? I was like, oh, okay, this is over.
It was over. And then all of a sudden it wasn't.
Wake Forest just said, no, not so fast. It gives me a little bit of concern about how well they can protect the lead. And I think to some of your advice in the past, John, on looking at this stuff in game, is maybe you drop a little bit on NC State plus the 6.5 to start, and then you see how this thing goes, and you kind of play, like Chris said, those ebbs and flows, and you might be able to get some in-game action that will tilt in your favor. And don't be afraid to like cash something out of something if you get a big swing, and actually maybe flip sides on it. That's something that I do a lot. I'm a little bit of a day trader when it comes to in-game betting. Call me crazy, but I'll tend to like take some like 20% profits here and there and just leave with it and be okay with that, and then flip it and play the other side. Because if I want to have fun, that's just something that I'll do from time to time. But yeah,
I like it.
I'm not super impressed with Clemson, and I think that the fact that this line is where it is I'm trying to figure out that, like, yeah, it is a head scratcher, because I'm trying to figure out if this is bait on the NC State side or if it's on the Clemson side, because you would think with NC State being a top 10 team and playing how they've played and being kind of everyone's darling, this spread seems high to me, actually. But if you look at what was expected going into this season, this seems like it might be a little low. Clemson should be favored by 10. And so it's kind of weird to me. I'm not sure which side is getting suckered in. Maybe they actually played this one right, and we're going to be, white knuckling it until that last field goal gets kicked or whatever. But yeah, I wouldn't be afraid to sprinkle a little bit on the money line too on NC State's side, especially if this game starts out and Clemson at 10-0, 14-0 lose. Shown if they don't slam the door, can let teams sneak back in games, and NC State is capable.
Yep, I agree. Jordan, you have any thoughts on this game?
I would agree that it's a toss-up. What you were saying with the line, Chad, that actually makes me want to, if I had to hop on Clemson. So I know Clemson's at home this week, and they were on the road against Wake Forest. The number's the same for both of those teams, and everybody loves NC State. Wake finished right in that number. It was close to a touchdown. I'm forgetting if it was 6 or 7 off the top, but it was the same number there, same number here. I think everybody would agree that NC State, at least the public perception, is a better team. So I would be on Clemson. I know also, NC State hasn't really played anybody. They only put up 27 against Texas Tech, which, that's a good number, but you're playing a Clemson defense now. I would probably say Clemson, but I'm not super in love with either of them. And I've seen everybody and their mother on NC State this week.
Yeah, and they gave up 10 points to Connecticut. How do you give up 10 points to UConn, man?
How do you give up double digits to UConn?
So, yeah. That is funny.
Yeah. But Devin Leary, the NC State quarterback, is going to have an interesting time. If he watches game tape from last week, though, he may be just fine. Because there's a couple like little concerns for Clemson, especially down the middle of the field with their defense, where Leary and NC State could easily attack, and they have the receivers, and people forget the two-headed running back monster that NC State has, where you can run wheel routes on Clemson's secondary
linebackers.
Yeah. These are guys that get past. I can't believe I'm saying this because, Clemson's defense over the last 5-6 years, their secondary, I'll argue Sumo in particular can probably get past a team's secondary. Never mind their linebackers. There's lightning quick and then there's lightning quick. So, Clemson's going to have to watch. They got burned a few times last week in that comeback. And I don't know. It's like, do they let their guard down? And that's where you have to worry.
So to that point, how do we feel about, like, instead of looking at a side, how do we feel about the over in this game? Because one of the things that I've noticed in the past is whenever you have somebody like Brett Venables, who was a mainstay and was just like, he just locked it down on the defensive side of the ball. Anytime there's going to be some installation of some new stuff, and it takes a few weeks to get that. And we've seen some of that. We've seen some evidence of Clemson having some breakdowns and being vulnerable in spots and having to find ways to shore those up. And the problem is, as you start to shore those things up, you got to pick your poison, right? If you're going to shore one thing up, you're going to leave a vulnerability somewhere else. And so I just wonder if there's still going to be maybe some of that adjustment. And if this doesn't possibly get into a shootout that becomes, 31-28, 34-31, something in that neighborhood where the play may be the over, because 45.5 is not still a lot. Low. Yeah, it's not a lot for these two teams. Yeah.
Chris, you said it was at 40.5.
40.5 is just insane.
Remember, that was right before the uncertainty of Ian. So if you got in on that, and a lot of us did, to be honest. I could probably just cash out right now and just be done with it. I wish I had put.
We probably could.
Look, to be bluntly honest, and I will say this: I wish I had put more on it, but yeah, I was afraid too, because I like I said, I remember a few years back when Notre Dame went into Clemson, and that game was a massive just deluge in the beginning of the game. And it was supposed to rain throughout the entire game. It stopped literally 5 minutes after kickoff, but the damage was done. That first quarter and a half was awful, but then it dried out in the second half. And if you played the second half over, you hit big. And a lot of people did, because they just assumed that the second half would be like the first. And I think the over was like something ridiculously low, like 18.5 for the second half. And Clemson just throttled Notre Dame in the second half. They scored 21 points by themselves in the third quarter, and that was it. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where you have to sit there, and in this era, let's face it, micro betting is just king for games like this.
Yeah, I agree. What do you guys think about the home field advantage? I played around with those numbers. Most of my numbers stay the same every single year. Penn State is still number one I have it as a 6-point advantage for whiteouts at night. LSU would be second at night for obvious reasons. But Ralph Michaels of Wager Talk taught me the power ratings for home field advantage, and he too has Penn State as number one. But Death Valley here, Clemson is built, if I remember right, it's built into the ground specifically to increase the noise volume and the reverberation and all that stuff. What impact do you think the crowd has on an NC State that has, in my opinion, a lot of pressure on them? Because this is the game. This is all the hype now, all coming in 1 3-hour time period tonight. What impact do you think the stadium and the noise of the stadium is going to have on the Wolfpack? And anybody can answer that.
I mean, the first thing I'm looking at is how many of those fans are going to travel over from Raleigh. It's a big game. Obviously, Clemson's going to travel well if they have to, and they'll be in the stadium. But I'm very sure that those Wolfpack fans are going to be coming too. This is as big of a game for them, like you said, John, as it is for Clemson. So, I mean, that's a crazy home field advantage, no doubt, but you can't tell me it's going to be all Clemson tonight.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm just wondering if it's loud enough where NC State's going to have to go with, first movement type of snaps. You won't be able to change the play at the line of scrimmage.
Right.
Much like 20 years, guys. 20 years since NC State last won 10 games, and that was under Chuck Amato. I mean, who, by the way, beat Notre Dame in a certain Gator Bowl that I still have nightmares about. But I mean, this is that big for them. This is their defining moment, and they're going to travel. I mean, 40, 50 mile per hour winds the other yesterday from Ian be damned. They're coming. Right. I mean, I don't think you have to worry. They've been looking forward to this for quite a while, and Clemson's that top top dog on the ACC poll. They're going to travel. There's no question about it.
Yeah, so that game was in Raleigh last year, and they did not play each other in 2020 because of the whole the COVID switch up where that's when they added Notre Dame to the ACC temporarily. Well, they didn't actually play each other that year. So the last time they played in Death Valley was 2019. Now that was a completely different team. That team went to the national championship. Shout out to LSU for destroying them in that game. But anyway, that was a whole different, whole different story, different lineups and everything. Everything was different about that game. But Clemson did win that one 55-10 the last time they played in Death Valley. So yeah, I'm actually now that I'm looking at this and thinking about it, I'm actually leaning more and more towards taking Clemson minus the 6.5 and actually taking the over at 45.5 and doing a John Ryan special, dropping 50% on each of those pre-flop and then looking for possibly better money. And if I don't get it, so be it. you can't lose what you don't put in there. And I mean, you can't win as much, but I'd rather taper my enthusiasm a little bit and let it kind of taper my way into some of those bets at a different kind of dollar cost average my way into it if I want to.
And then, honestly, there's probably about a 25 to 30% probability that at some point in that first quarter, first half, you will be able to get Clemson at -1. I'll go on record as saying that. So I may not even bet this pre-flop, Chad. I might just wait. And if I don't get any action, I don't get any action. But if I get Clemson at -1 at home, I kind of like that feeling right there.
Well, and so if you play the over pre-flop and then you wait for that, you could actually you could very easily hit on both of those, because if NC State lands the first punch or the first couple of punches, you could very easily see Clemson, then it becomes a shootout late. So yeah, I like that.
Chad, one of our fellow competitors in the contest that we've been in, I humbly state that I won the last one. I guess there was like 50 some handicappers in it, and it's only a $50 entry, but we have Lady D stopping in to say hello and provide some expertise from her research and stuff. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Greetings.
Guys, thank you. I had to be presentably late. I'm not so used to, because I'm in the West Coast, Midwest. So I'm like, it's time for the show. So thank you for bringing me on here. I'm nervous. So you can tell a little bit I'm nervous. But
Jesse Schule is Jesse Schule is one of our regulars too, and he recently moved from Vancouver to Thailand. So when I say he's sitting in an airport right now in Bangkok, and he is actually trying to get on the show, but I guess the internet in Bangkok and the airport isn't so hot.
It never is.
So God bless him for being that loyal. I guess a little shout out for loyalty to Jesse.
There you go.
But
I meant to ask him when he was in Singapore. It's like how is that wonderful tropical monsoon? And then you realize dumbly, it's like, well, wait, he's going over to Thailand, which is having even worse, because this is their rainy season until about mid-October. The fun background is I do some stuff for like MotoGP, and one of the things that we go into is like, well, oh God, I got to check it's the Far East leg. I got to check the weather now. And it's like, you sit there and you're trying to go through hour by hour forecasts in Thai. And it's like, okay, it's like, and then trying to translate this. And yes, they use the metric system. So it's like, all right, wait, hold on, carry the one. And I got to handicap this. What? Okay. And here you go. And sure enough, one of the guys I deal with, he's from Barcelona. God bless him. I don't know how he puts up with me, but he's like, how did you get odds for this? Because no one else has been able to. And I'm like, shh. Now, 5 minutes later, they come up on Bovada. Now, he's publishing it before Bovada actually puts their odds up. And I'm like, don't worry about it. Nobody's going to read it for at least a half hour. So you should be good. And he's like, do you know someone at Bovada that I don't? And I'm like, I know them a little bit more comfortable than their husband would. Or at one time I did. And at that point, it's like, but that's the kind of thing that, we talk about even here as far as even micro betting. I mean, it lends itself now in this market more than ever. And I think John was discussing this in even our staff meeting on Friday at gambling.com, along with Larry, that 30-second window, you're going to be able to bet by play at some point very soon. And I think in New Jersey, I know New Jersey's trying it. I don't know how far they've gotten. So,
that's why I still have my antenna. I still have my antenna up.
I do too.
Because I'm not waiting on this stream to come through 45 seconds late. Shit, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, I'm right about. I figured it out. So I did this last night. we've had sort of like a TV sort of blackout dispute with Comcast and my local MSG. Just Jordan will know this, just because of MSG up in the Buffalo area. You get about a 20 to 30 second lag. Sometimes a little more, sometimes in a rare occasion of a blue moon less.
Just all the time.
I know. I try to be nice with this. There's a guy, Ted Starkey, who used to do a lot of Buffalo stuff. Now is still with the Capitals, and Newsday, locally by me, has said this. Last night I timed it from my Google Chromecast to the Devils' only goal of the night, and it was like 40 seconds. I'm like, oh, thank God it's preseason. I was like, this is never going to work because too many people are going to be on streams where the play happened already. So
you know what's even more fun than that, and probably more fun than even making money on winning bets is Chad knows about Tommy's Tavern, and Adam, who's on our show, knows about Tommy's Tavern over in Princeton, New Jersey.
Yep.
And I decided one night, I don't know anybody. And I'm sitting there looking at my BetMGM app, and the Yankees game is on. And I'm looking at the line movements that are live. So you can tell whether Aaron Judge just hit a home run or struck out or whatever. And
you can see it on there. You can see it on the lines before you see the play happen. Yeah, absolutely.
And I was being like Mr. Optimistic or Mr. Negative, or saying, whoever was up to bat, oh, he's going to strike out. I just know it. And then he would strike out. So I did this like 6 or 7 times. And then finally the guy elbowed me and he says, are you psychic or something? And I pretended to be dumb. And I said, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? He said, I just had a feeling he was going to strike out or whatever. But you have to do that once just to have fun. And then, you have to admit the truth then too, of course, that I was looking at the app and I just wanted to see what your response would be. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's how I do it. 7 times? Come on, man.
I believe it.
And we tease, with Jesse being in Thailand, he's actually in Sunday now. So he already knows who won in college football because it's over.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Anyway.
Yeah, I've hammered Jesse a couple times with a few international Dateline jokes, and he just goes, "You're a special kind of. I can't repeat this on here." And I'm like,
I think initially Jesse thought international Dateline was like Match.com. And then
this show went off the rails real fast, didn't it? God. I blame Lady D.
I come in here, don't worry, I'm just like the fellas.
It's good for the ratings.
I do not get mad at anything. I can say sexist jokes. I don't care as long as it's not towards me. So I am all gravy. So I'm just listening and like, okay, let me just sit here look pretty.
Lisa, is there a game you want to talk about? Maybe even one, not putting you on the spot, but maybe one that you'll use in the contest later today for round 1 of our action? Because I actually am not making the cut right now after being the.
I have to say,
that's kind of embarrassing.
I'm catching up with you, John. I'm almost outside the bubble as well. So I might just whatever you're going with, Lady D. I'm going to tail it so that I can catch up because you're already in the group. So
I need
to gain some ground.
I did a reverse sweep yesterday, so I'm like, oh, that hurt me so hard. But for my contest plays, I put all college, almost like 3 college games. So I had, oh my God, I had Tulane plus 4.5. I took Middle Tennessee. And I didn't cash that one, and I had UCLA plus 3. So those are the 3 ones I had yesterday, keeping me above. So I'm trying to specifically kick one guy out I don't like. So that is my goal today, is to kick his butt out. So
yeah, shout out to that guy. As soon as he left the chat, I blocked him, so I won't be hearing from him anymore.
Jordan and Chris, this was something that you should sign up for the contest just to see the dialogue among some of the ones, like I said, get thrown out. They get disqualified and they violate the rules of conduct, and they're dismissed accordingly. Just like Urban Meyer.
It's a great community, except for that one person.
Is he just a jerk? Like, is he trying to cheat somehow, or is he just a total a-hole?
No, he's just a
Listen,
jerk.
I swear to God, if they had a voice chat on there, I would have ripped that guy a new butthole, okay? Because I am not going to hold anything back. I am very controversial. Like, if I see something, I'm going to curse you out regardless. That is just me. I'm like, excuse me? Who you calling a CUNT? I know you're not calling me a CUNT. Yeah, that'll be the last thing you'll be doing with me. So
he basically put in 4 picks. Yeah. He claimed to put in 4 picks. They never got to the guy who is tribute here or there down at the bottom of the screen. That's who you contact to be involved in the contest. And they told me that it's open to anybody. You don't have to be a pro. You don't have to even know what you're doing. In fact, the guy who came
I don't know what I'm doing and I'm in there.
The guy who came in second, the last one, I was, before it was official that I won, I wanted to see what the other guys had. He did really well with women's volleyball.
I believe it.
Which one?
I forget what his name was. He came in second in the last one.
Oh, Lacachino.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Yeah, he's really good.
So there I am Googling women's volleyball scores and trying to figure out, he said over 130. And I thought, well, women's basketball hasn't started yet. What is this?
I have no overseas.
The amount of games.
Low key, I might try to hit Tyler up because he's big on the lacrosse stuff, and he just banks on lacrosse. And I'm like, man, I'm not betting lacrosse. I don't know anything about that shit. I'm not. I like to bet something where if it fails, it's all right, that was on me, But I don't know, when I'm in a contest like this and I'm pulling up the rear, I might just go ahead and throw a Hail Mary and be like, hey man, give me some lacrosse picks real quick.
Well, with the time we have left, one of the games I wanted to just kind of mention was the Kentucky going up against Mississippi.
Yeah,
that's a noon start. Number 7 Kentucky against number 14 Mississippi. Yet Mississippi is favored by 6.5 points.
Mm-hmm.
And I always have said those polls are absolutely meaningless, except when you have a situation like this where the market is telling, at least me, that Mississippi is the better team, and they're playing at home. So it's widely known I am on Mississippi. I'm on Mississippi in the gambling.com contest, and I probably will put it in the Cappers contest that is scrolling at the bottom of the page. But I know Chris, I think, is on Kentucky, I think. And I can't blame him for being on Kentucky. I just think it's a bad spot for Kentucky, and they're going to possibly fall short in a miserable fashion. But you guys can disagree with me if you want.
Another one.
Hey, Chris, you started, and then we'll go to Jordan.
I owe it. This is your head scratch. This is another head scratcher special because we never know how Kentucky's going to come out. Even last week, they were supposed to cover easy. They didn't. 1 week they don't. They do. Naturally they have their season defining quote unquote moment against Florida, and they throttle Florida by 10.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I know Florida's not the same as they were in years past. I get that. But they found a way. And they won easily. Now, here's the difference. Yes, it's a 12 o'clock start. There will be sun, unlike where I'm at. I know the light fools everybody, but that's window dressing.
Camera tricks.
It's a total camera. No, it's too long of a story for now.
It's a sign that the Mets are going to win the National League East. That's what it is.
Oh my God! Don't even talk about the Mets. I am so mad they lost.
I'll explain this real quick, Lisa. I bet against my own team last night because I can't stand DeGrom anymore.
he pitched horrible. I'm like,
it's not even that he pitches horribly. It's just that if you notice, there's been a pattern since he's come back where his pitches get, especially his two-seam fastball, gets flatter and flatter as the game goes on. And then even his off-speed stuff by about pitch 90 is shot. And part of that's because of that's because of the injury that he had, and part of it is the fact that he didn't address it properly in April, which means, or last year for that matter, which unfortunately means the reality is he's a kind of a 1.5 pitch pitcher living in a 3-pitch world.
You know what my wish list is, though, Chris, and we talked about it yesterday, is this is probably the best sports reality TV combination possible on the planet, is to have DeGrom on the hill and our good friend Angel Hernandez behind the plate calling balls and strikes.
I saw this live.
I mean, would that be cool? Or
somebody
what?
had to take Jerry West's spot, right? Like as the worst, most hated, most prima donna and drama queen umpire in baseball.
I gotta see how the ump crews go, because I would love to see that for round one. I even as a Mets fan, I would pay all the money. Just
I hope to God that baseball's smart enough not to put Hernandez behind the plate in any playoff game, because it's not going to end good. It's not.
I don't think they were going to. I don't know if that's changed, but I had heard from more than a few people that he's not going to make the cut. So we'll see. I mean, it could change.
Angel Hernandez isn't going to make the cut for the postseason?
Yeah, there was a rumor that he's not going to. So I don't know how true that is, but
he's terrible.
I hope so. I really do, because my fear is that he will decide something in a bad way. It's just inevitable.
Yeah.
So.
That would be terrible.
Yeah.
But anyway,
and I said Jerry West. I meant Joe West, obviously. Jerry West is the NBA logo. I meant Joe West, obviously. But anyway, y'all know what I meant.
I knew what you meant.
Come on, Chad. It's like the classic Eric Gregg strike zone.
Yeah.
I don't correct people on this show.
Was Eric Gregg the one? Was Eric Gregg the umpire behind home plate when Livan Hernandez threw like 95 pitches 4 feet off the
strikes
plate?
out? Yes, he was.
Yep.
Yeah. That was probably the worst, because he's the lefty and he's throwing it against right-handers off the bat. Some of those pitches barely stayed to the plate side of the batter's box on the other side. And they never were in the strike zone at any point on their path. And he's just ringing people up. And Livan Hernandez is just like, sweet, you can't reach it out there unless you got a fungo. I'm going to just keep throwing it out there.
So what did we decide on Kentucky Ole Miss? Ole Miss is the
I'm glad you finally called them Ole Miss. I was wondering if like this
I was waiting
Northeast
for it,
BS. I was like, man, we do not call them Mississippi down here.
I can hear the Mannings getting mad as we speak.
That's right. That's right. My kids' high school played against.
Though.
Yeah, I actually am too, and I know John's on them, but I kind of feel that way too. I mean, Stoops is a good coach, and he finds a way to like kind of he's that turn it into a backstreet brawl kind of guy that like there's going to be some quirky stuff, and I kind of have a similar feeling about A&M and Mississippi State, where like I want to take A&M plus the 4 at Mississippi State, but Mike Leach is another one of those that like he against us 2 weeks ago in Baton Rouge. He went for it on 4th and 1 from his own 22 in the first quarter. Like,
holy Barry Switzer.
This is the kind of nutso shit that like, and they got it. They ended up like missing like 3 or 4 fourth downs later on in the game, but they kept going for it in these weird situations where I'm like, man, you're really setting yourself up for a disaster if you don't get this. And they kept getting it, and that's the kind of like, he's the guy who you don't know if he's got 2-7 offsuit or if he's got rockets. You know what I mean? Like you don't know what that guy's going to do. And I think it plays tricks on coaches. I think like it can put like a good, very disciplined coach on tilt a little bit. And so I think that Stoops is a little bit more conservative version of Mike Leach. I don't think Mike Leach is a wacko. I love him, but he's he's got a screw loose or something. So I actually like the kind of the double up there, where I think as much as I want A&M in the +4, I like Mississippi State and Ole Miss both minus the points at home today.
Yeah, I'm with you on both of those.
Remember, earlier in the week was the 15th anniversary of the famous "I'm a man, I'm 40." It is a classic video that never ever will get old, no matter how old we get. I mean, you can't beat it. So, somebody asked, it's like, is that video really 15 years old? Now, this was a younger person, mind you, and I'm like, yes, go look it up on YouTube. It's every bit worth. And I was like, if you're lucky, you get like sort of like the first few minutes before he launches into this, and you get kind of the motivation of where he was at. And they're like, is he still like that? Yes.
Yeah. Yes, so does that mean you're taking Oklahoma State plus the 2.5 against Baylor?
I'm thinking about blinking. I really am thinking about it. I mean, look, it's like me riding Kansas a week too long. I'm going to probably do the same on a few teams this week, just because I have to. So it's, again, I'll do the same with the Mets tonight. It's Scherzer time. It's the one win they're probably.
I'm not touching that damn game.
I have to, because he's no rumble pony. And
I am not touching it.
I gotta take a shot at it. Like I said, as much as I don't want to trust them, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, if you're gonna take a shot, you might as well.
Okay, so Mets it is. What's the money line on it? Is it high
that's
spread?
That's where I'm. Yeah, it's basically now a pick'em, which I like more than the minus 160 it was going into the series.
Yeah.
So that's part of the rationale, because at 160 or 170 where it was on Thursday, I was like, there's no way.
That doesn't. Exactly.
I forgot which site it was, guys, but they had Friday, Saturday, and Sunday out already. And that's where it was like, I'm a little surprised, and yet not at the same time. So it was good.
That's not bad odds.
Yeah, it set the market, and when that came bustling back this morning to near pick'em, I'm like, okay.
But weekend's white though. Ugh.
I think with that whole Mets series that's going on now, the whole key to take advantage of is, if you like the Braves to make a repeat performance of the World Championship that they did last year, you want to bet the NLCS now with the Braves. If you like the Mets to win the NLCS,
windows now.
You got to bet them now, because
But the thing is, even the
championships.
Even the numbers now.
They want to see the Mets and Yankees.
Well, it's more.
Everybody wants to see the Mets and Yankees going.
It's even more than that. It's just because of the window of who gets to avoid, the Dodgers basically right away.
Yep.
Right.
No, that's what it is. That's what it is.
First round bye. It's monumental. It really is. But anyway, with the like 5 or 6, 7 minutes we have left, we can go around the horn and give out best bets, or we can talk about what, like in Jordan's case, he can tell us what we should be aware of for the week ahead at ESPN Syracuse. Any good things that they have coming up, we should take advantage of. But I'll start things off here, and I had promised to do this on the show because it's a subset of one of my best betting algorithms I have out of the 5,000 that I have. And I love the Atlanta Falcons tomorrow. Absolutely.
Yes!
Hey, I got that one too.
Yes!
This could be this is probably the most animated pick I've ever done, Chad, where I said I absolutely love them.
Did you see where the lines were going on that game?
This is crazy.
Yeah, I do too. I love that. I've been saying that since Wednesday. Falcons. I've been saying that in all the chats I've been in.
And I also like the over in the game.
Oh yeah, the over.
I hate
parlay. It's down to 1 point now. It was 1.5 earlier. But I still like that. That's playing at home and you're a dog. I talked about this week 1 with the Saints going in there, and everybody had. I think the Saints were like 5.5 point favorites. I was like, man, I've watched this too much. Those dome teams at home, especially that one, like the Saints and the Falcons hate each other. The fans hate it. Like, so when that team goes into that stadium, those fans are like 50% louder, if not more, and it's crazy. So this one, it's a noon start, but I like that one too. Oh, there go the dogs.
Falcons.
Yeah, it's based on.
I love the Falcons.
See, the dogs start barking when we start talking about this.
Look at that! It's always at the part of the show.
It's on my Twitter timeline, actually, the betting angle, but the subset is not. The subset is the team is averaging 34 or fewer rushing yards per game. They're coming off a win, an upset win, an upset road win. And in that road win, they had the ball for less than 30 minutes time of possession. And they're going up against an opponent now that is ball control like the Browns are, averaging 32 or more minutes of time of possession. And the opponent has a 50% or better win percentage on the season. That's really all it is. And that has gone 22-1 against the spread. 22-1.
Fire.
That's 96% winners. How can you not like that?
But it went from 3-1. Isn't that like just crazy that how they opened at 3 and then now they're at 1?
It is, and
it's
that's telling you that. Telling you a lot of people know about this 22-1 situation, I guess.
Somebody's on it.
But anyway, that's
but I really love Falcons. That's a good one too.
I think it's because Atlanta's offense has been so balanced too. I mean, that doesn't hurt either. And look, Cleveland could give up huge chunks of yards. I mean, this is a team that gave up 30 points to the Jets.
Do we know if is Myles Garrett out or is he? Or what's his status? Because he got in a car wreck, and then Clowney was out too. Like that's another thing. Like if they don't have Clowney and Garrett, that's a completely different defense.
Been cleared, I think.
It was cleared.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, which is amazing to be in a car wreck like that, and now he's playing.
The car flipped like 3 times or something.
Incredible. Thank God for that. But anyway,
I hope if I ever wreck my car and it flips 3 times, I can play in an NFL game on Sunday. You know, I hope I come out of it that healthy. You know what I mean? Like damn, bro, that's you gotta be real lucky.
Oh my God!
I didn't even get to wreck this weekend. I can't play in an NFL game.
What do you think for your best bet? Or if you don't have one, you don't have to provide one. That applies to everybody.
I am looking for some. I already have my games because I already put them in yesterday. So let's see. I'm really loving the Iowa game.
I do too.
I'm really loving the Iowa. It's plus 10.5 right now. I will buy the 5 points and turn it up to 11. I would put the money line on that too, because I think that's one of the teams that I know they're going to be an upset. So I have 4 morning games. So Iowa is one. Take the points plus and sprinkle on the money line.
I love it.
That's one of my. I love it. That's one of them. I'm really loving the Illinois game too. But I'm kind of confused on this one because Wisconsin hasn't been playing that well, especially with Ohio State. I've been a Badgers fan. I've seen this team. This team hasn't been playing well this season. But I just don't like how it opened at 10 and it's gone down to 6.5. But I still would take.
I like a pizza money bet with Illinois and Iowa money line. Sure. That actually went out to my my clients.
You see, we're thinking we're in the same wavelength. I'm loving this. I'm loving this the same way. So yeah, Illinois. I don't think I will put the money on it. I'm really more confident in Iowa. So yeah, Iowa and Illinois points definitely, and Iowa money line.
It's crazy how, like you said, you're from the Midwest. Isn't it funny how we like all like gravitate towards like the conferences and the teams in our geographical area is like focus on like you can't help it. Like you're watching that stuff like exactly.
Well, I'm originally from Rochester, New York, so I'm an East Coaster, but I moved out to Arizona for over 12 years. So I've been.
I thought you said you were in the Midwest. So. You're out there.
No, okay. Arizona. So
you're out west.
Out west.
Yeah. Mountain West, jokingly.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
But I've lived in Chicago for like 4 years in my life. I've been around, so that's how I really got into like more into sports is when I lived in Chicago because I'm a big Chicago team fan. Like I love the Bears, even though they're horrible. I'm always underdog. The Cubbies.
Let's go.
That's my team. I love the Blackhawks. I'm a big NHL person. That's how I first started getting to betting. Is by doing NHL first, and then I started to specialize in other sports. So, but I had a great teacher to teach me. So, and then I just ran off with it. So, and learned on my own. So, yeah, I'm a big. You see, my little. Jersey.
Oh, there you go. Right.
So,
well,
I'm getting my little room ready. So,
yeah. My son just came and waved to me. I got to take him somewhere real quick. So if y'all don't mind, can I get my picks off real quick?
We got 3 minutes because I know Jordan has to be going too.
So I had A&M. I'm almost to the point of like staying away from that game now because I kind of believe that shit about Mike Leach. Like I think Mike Leach is going to find a way to like trip him up. And plus Texas 8-4 as we call them, like. They're always going to find a way to fuck it up. Like they were top 5, top 10, whatever to start the season, but they always find a way to lose 3 or 4 games no matter what. So this is probably one of them. But I actually like Baylor minus the 2.5 going to Oklahoma State. I know I'm probably like shooting myself in the face when I make that call, but I don't know. I'm still riding the Dave Aranda train. I've ridden that for a couple of weeks now, and it's paid off. The BYU one didn't work out, but the last couple have, and I can't get away from it. I do want to say that I think that the Arkansas-Alabama game is a trap. I think that line suggests that everyone should jump on Arkansas and take the 17.5 points. What they're doing. Maybe even take the money line, and Alabama is going to dunk them.
Yeah, I agree. I said that on the show with Jordan on Friday. I said Alabama, Alabama team total over.
I might tease Alabama up to like 24 points or something like that.
Yeah.
Just to see what kind of money I can get on it because, like, look, I've been around this SEC country for a long time. I've been watching Saban after he left LSU just do us dirty for over a decade now. And I'm telling you, they always look ugly to start the season. And then you look at it and it's like, oh, look, this team might half-ass have a chance at beating them. No, they don't. And this ain't the one.
Yeah, usually October starts and there's always that one bang Alabama game that you just go, oh, they're still here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because this is the time of year where everybody writes them off because they almost lost to Texas or whatever it is. And of course, we always have to play them in November when they are absolutely at their best. And we've knocked them off a couple of times.
How you liking Daniels playing for the LSU now? He was looking kind of.
Yeah, he's stepped it up a little bit more. They've got great receivers. He's just got to learn how to, and I think he's shown like the now granted it's New Mexico State, but if you look at the second half of that Mississippi State game, he started actually like hanging in the pocket a little bit longer, letting some of that stuff, letting those routes develop, because he was doing this like hybrid of either he would hang on to the ball too long and get roughed up, or it was one read and then take off. And I think he's starting to kind of feel that comfort level in the pocket where he's finding that balance to run when it's there and when it's helpful, and to let those receivers get open downfield and use those weapons and try to stay in the pocket as much as you can. So yeah, I like it. And I think, he's got another year. So I'm really at this point, I'm kind of writing this season off as like my expectations are low. I'm hoping we win 8 games and get to a bowl game and do our thing there. But I'm looking towards next season where this recruiting class that's coming in and what Kelly did with some transfers pays dividends.
So should I take LSU today -8?
Yes. So listen. All right. So that if y'all want some inside info,
best bets for his best bet.
I'm sorry. So no,
I'm trying to just grab
Auburn's coach is about to get fired. Oh,
if he loses today, he's fired.
They're on their third string quarterback. I think they have one scholarship quarterback left on the roster. Now this series is crazy. I'll say that much. But this is one of those games where if Auburn doesn't get out to an early start, I think LSU just runs away from it.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
If their fans don't get into it in any way, it's over. They're playing for just about nothing. I think Auburn probably turns more dangerous after they fire Harsin, but I think as long as he's still there, they're a dumpster fire. So and with that, my son just came back. I gotta bounce. Yeah, sorry about that. Thank y'all.
Bye, Chad.
All right,
we'll move on to Chris real quick. Give us a one best bet, and then we'll close the show with Jordan, because I know Jordan has to get going to his day job.
Yeah, we said 1, so we're sticking with 1. We're taking Oregon State in the points against Utah. Utah has been a scary team all year, in not a good way. And look, last week, USC should not be undefeated after last week.
True.
The only reason why USC is undefeated is because Chance Nolan forgot the 15-yard out route is meant to be thrown 15 yards. It happened twice. It cost them the game. I think he learns that lesson this week. It helps keep that game close enough. And again, Utah's defense is not that good, especially against the pass. And sometimes they're not that good against the run either. So you have to keep this in mind, balance it. And even though they're at home, it's still very much a trap.
I like that play quite a bit. Jordan, let's put let's put a ribbon around this show here, and we'll conclude with you with any final thoughts you have.
So I'm gonna guarantee, first of all, my laptop's dying during this. It's not my bookie coming for my head, but I'm going out to Monday. College this week kind of confused me. When I saw the 49ers 2.5 points, I saw them opening over the Rams. I was like, what's going on? 49ers 4-1 against that LA team in 2020 on. So 4 of the last 5 they've won. Line's already moving down. I'm seeing the Rams are +1 now, as we kind of could have expected. Everybody's wondering why in the world the 49ers would be favored to win that game. I love San Fran. I might hop on them again now that the number's coming down. And I haven't gotten the courage to take it yet. But with Jameis Winston and Michael Thomas both probably out, that Saints line hasn't moved at all with Minnesota. I kind of want to take New Orleans +3 it is right now, but I haven't got the courage to take it yet. But that one doesn't make sense to me either. I thought Minnesota was going to be very good. And they didn't look great against the Lions last week. So the Saints is the one I'm worried about, but the Niners is the one I might be doubling down on.
Well, if it's any help, Saints are going to my premium clients. If it helps.
In Andy Dalton, we pray.
Yeah, they might be better. Who knows?
At least Dalton can throw the ball downfield, and you don't have to worry about his back breaking.
Right?
Literally.
That's a good point. Well, anyway, I want to thank Lisa for joining us today, her debut on the Predictive Playbook show. Jordan, what are the accounts on Twitter that people should definitely follow you and also Steve Infanti and Paulie? It's at Q Sports Talk.
Yeah, on Twitter, go to @QSportsTalk @. I'm still looking for the guy who has the account without the underscore. He's been inactive for 10 years. I'm going to find him @QSportsTalk _.
I believe it.
Dude, like I can't. His logo's like a generic like soccer ball, baseball bat, baseball, and it hasn't tweeted in 8 years. It's like, come on, dog.
Like, can I get the name?
So, Twitter requires like 3 forms of ID and like a handwritten letter from corporate to do that stuff. And it's just, oh man, yeah. @QSportsTalk _. If you like BS Syracuse banter, follow me at Jordan D. Capozzi as well.
Good stuff.
Syracuse. I love Syracuse.
Yes. I'm glad. I'm jealous. I'm jealous you made it out west. I'm jealous.
I'm like, goodbye, Rochester. Goodbye. Leave y'all.
Literally.
Well, that'll be it for today's show, I think. We got half an hour for people to get their bets in for those noon games that we gave out. So great show. Thanks for all of your time. And I always close every single show, every single 2-minute video I've ever done with 2 things. You want to bet with your head, never over it, and may all the wins be yours. We'll see you again on Monday.